What's going on, everybody? C4 here today. Continue with the 7-round mock draft series after we record this, because I need to make sure it's perfect because it's my baby. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to be talking about the free agency, the 2016 draft, and then I'll be busting out my 7-round mock draft, the 7th edition that I've done, which is absolutely crazy. You guys keep requesting it. Personally, I only want to do 3 or 4 mock drafts for the Eagles. But every time I did one, you're like, are you going to come up with another one in a couple weeks? Or like I'd be doing some other videos like, when's the next Eagles mock draft coming out? So I've been following really public demand for this, and I will be releasing one more the day before the official draft, so stay tuned for that. So what do we got? Let's talk about the Eagles here. Let's talk about the greatest team in the NFL. Eagles last year 7-9, had the 22nd ranked offense, 13th ranked defense. The MVP, in my opinion, well, I don't even think it's really a hot take. I think most Eagle fans, you're either going to give it to Carson Wentz for the upside for what he did in the offensive side of the ball, or me, I'm going with Jordan Hicks. I think Jordan Hicks is coming into this season, has the potential to finish as a top 5 inside linebacker in the NFL. He's an absolute freak of nature, wants everything you want. As long as he can stay healthy and stay on the field, I mean, the sky is the limit for him. Him and Fletcher Cox are going to be... That's the reason why our defense was still 13th ranked last year. And it was because of beasts like Jordan Hicks and Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham and all those beasts. So, our needs before free agency, I had as wide receiver, cornerback, running back, defensive line, and outside linebacker. Looking at the moves we made in free agency, we released Leos McKellen, which freed around $3 million. I'm giving that an A. That's a little bit of a biased grade there because Leos McKellen needed to get off this roster. We released Connor Barwin, which freed almost $8 million of cap. I'm giving that a B+. It sucks to see Connor Barwin go. He was solid on the field, phenomenal off the field, but because we switched from a 3-4 to a 4-3, it was just way too much money to have kind of locked up there in the defensive line. I'm pulling for him. He signed with the Rams, and I hope he does well. He's a guy that I hope maybe, I don't know if we have a lasting impression on him. He's bounced around from team to team, but when he's done with football, he may want to come back and get involved with the Eagles organization. We signed Torrey Smith to a 3-year, $15 million deal, which is essentially like a 1-year, $5 million deal I saw, and then we can opt out next season. I'm giving that a C. I mean, it's not, Torrey Smith sucked in San Francisco, but only takes a couple years back, where you look at his play in Baltimore, where he was, a fringe wide receiver one of the better deep play wide receivers in the NFL, probably top 5 deep threat in the NFL, with him and Joe Flacco working in there. So if we can get anything like that, I mean, even a hint of that is better than having Nelson Aguilar or DGB rounding up our starting wide receiver core. So that's a decent move, so I'll give it a C. We signed Chance Warmack to a 1-year, $1.5 million deal, give it a C. That's, solidifying and adding some depth to the offensive line. Same goes with re-signing Stefan Wisniewski, 3-year, $9 million deal. I'm giving that a C+. I mean, he could play and start at either guard spot or the center spot, so that's not too bad. We signed Nick Foles to a 2-year, $11 million deal. I'm giving that a C. I'm sick and tired of us overpaying for backup quarterbacks. I have no idea what the fascination is of having a backup quarterback that's on for more than $5 million a deal. I don't get that, especially when you have a franchise in Carson Wentz. We released Chase Daniel, which got about $1 million plus whatever we're going to get in compensation from him re-signing with the Saints. It's not going to be too much. I think it's going to be another full year until we finally have acceptable cap hits for our quarterback situation. I still don't understand. I like Nick Foles coming back. I bought a Nick Foles jersey, which was one of the bigger wastes of money. So now I guess, well, let's be honest, I'm never going to wear it again. But hey, look, he's back on the Eagles. So it is what it is. We signed Patrick Robinson to a 1-year, $1 million deal, which is, I mean, he's not nothing special, but he graded out Pro Football Focus, like identical to Nolan Carroll, and we got him a lot cheaper than what Dallas paid Nolan Carroll to get. So I guess that's better, on the books. We got Chris Long in on a, 1-2 year. All the contracts this year look absolutely ridiculous. But we signed Chris Long for, I think it was like $4 million. Great edge rusher. That really speaks volumes to how I think they view Vinny Curry as a starter, which kind of sucks because I really want Vinny Curry to get that starting gig. But Chris Long adds tremendous depth. He could still be a guy that gets 6-7 sacks, and that's good rotation. And more of a scheme fit than what we're getting with Connor Barwin. He's a cheaper, better fit for this defense than Connor Barwin was. And obviously the big signing, Alshon Jeffrey, 1-year, $14 million deal. Give him that an A+. I've already made a video on this before. I don't want to keep, pounding it into the dirt. If it was a longer-term deal, I would not be as in favor for it because I am skeptically optimistic that Alshon Jeffrey will work out. But you can't ignore the facts. He's got hurt. He's one suspension away from missing some big Lane Johnson time. But the 1-year deal makes it perfect for the Philadelphia Eagles, so I can get down with that. So now, let's jump right into the 2016 draft, see where the Eagles went, and let's see how we'll grade it. So, in the first round, obviously, we got Carson Wentz. I'm going to see if I can do this off memory. I don't even have my notes in front of me. So, in the first round, we got Carson Wentz, and obviously, franchise quarterback. I'm going to say, in my biased opinion, the best quarterback that was taken last year, especially, they could have messed it up. If this was Chip Kelly, we probably would have got Jared Goff because of the Pac-12 bias. We would have traded up the first round, the first overall pick, something dumb like that. So, I'm very glad that we have Carson Wentz on the roster. Now we finally have some weapons for him to use. Then in the third round, we got Isaac Seumalo. You know, I wasn't really a huge fan of that pick, but I understood it, and it really gives us an idea of the type of offensive lineman that we're going to be drafting now in the Doug Peterson era. If there's a big mauler type guy, we will take that over where we had Chip Kelly who tried to get the smaller finesse players. So Seumalo wasn't super high on that pick, but now it looks like coming in this camp, he's going to be, you know, vying for a starting position at either center or guard, which is great production and great value. He looked solid for us last year. The 5th round, we got Wendell Smallwood and Hal Vaitai. I mean, I wasn't a fan of either one of those picks, to be completely honest with you. I thought that Wendell Smallwood, I mean, I don't know what he does, what he brings to the offense right now. I mean, he's kind of decent for me in Madden, to be completely honest with you. I think that's pretty much where he lies. He's not going to be a receiving back, I don't think. I think, you know, we're going to have that in Byron Marshall. I think Byron Marshall could be our next future change of pace back when Darren Sproles hanging up. And I don't think Wendell Smallwood has the durability to really become a 3-down back in the NFL. So I'm not exactly sure where we're going to be going on that one. We got Hal Vaitai as our other 5th-round pick. Even though he got absolutely torched and raped by Ryan Kerrigan when he played the Washington Redskins in his first start, he looks like a serviceable right tackle, a guy that if someone does go down, if Jason Peters goes down, we have to swing Lane Johnson over. I'm not going to feel terrible that our season's over with Vaitai coming in playing right tackle. Everyone knew it was going to be a project, and he looks like he's catching on sooner than later. I don't necessarily see the potential of him being a franchise right tackle or anything, or doing that whole, oh man, don't worry, we can move Lane to left, and we have Vaitai at right. But there definitely is upside there. The 6th round, we got Blake Countess. I hate that pick, and now he's not even on the roster. And then the 7th round, we had 3 7-round picks. We got Jalen Mills, Alex McAllister, and Joe Walker. And all those guys were, I think Joe Walker, what he's shown us in the preseason last year, I think he's going to be the top depth after Jordan Hicks. Alex McAllister needed to gain some weight as he was even a freaking project at Florida. He was on the practice squad. Hopefully he did gain some weight. I'm going to be very interested to see what he weighs in at camp this year. But, big time project with a high ceiling, low risk in the 7th round. And then Jalen Mills. We all know the story of Jalen Mills. There's lots of good, some bad. I don't want to say lots of bad, but there's some good, some bad. And in my opinion on Jalen Mills is we got tremendous value in the 7th round. A guy that certainly can start in this league. I'm not going to say he's going to be a lockdown corner. I'm not going to say that he should be starting, but there's upside. And as long as we give competition, and if he earns that starting spot going into next season, then he earned it. But I do not want, I wasn't as sold on his play as other Eagle fans that he should be considered a starter day one. He needs to earn it. If he does earn it, then I look forward to seeing how our secondary looks next season. So that being said, guys, let's jump into the 7th-round mock for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. So in the 1st round, pick 14, I have us selecting Gareon Conley, the CB. What's a CB? A cornerback from Ohio State, 6 feet tall, 195 pounds, running 4.4, 440. 6.68, 3-cone drill, 37-inch vertical, tested very, very well. And as I was a loser, chilling with my baby, watching the combine, I watched every second of the defensive back drills. He was the best on the field drill defensive back that I watched during the whole weekend. And I forever, I had him as the steal, the guy that if I was on the draft board, he would be my #1 guy in the 2nd round. I'd trade up in the 2nd round to get him. But now, because of the Sidney Jones injury and Morel's now hurt, really there's a complete shuffle of big boards, I think, for the defensive backs. And especially a guy like Conley, he solidified himself with that really good 40 time as, a 1st-round pick. And I think he's the type of guy that we need. We need an athletic corner. I really would like to favor athletic corners over maybe technique this year, just because I'm sick and tired of our corners getting beat deep. A guy like Gareon Conley can keep up with the speedsters that we're going to have to stop in the NFC East alone. NFL Pro comparison is Aqib Talib. Give me that. He's one of the best corners in the NFL. He's a press corner. He can do a lot. And I think that the real surprising thing is coming in. No one really knew how athletic Gareon Conley was, but they were ranting and raving about his technique. He was very technically sound. And the fact that he ran a 4.44, one of the faster 40 times for all the defensive backs, good. I think he's going to be good, man. I think he's going to be a guy that could play pretty much everything. Because it looks like everyone wants to think that Jim Schwartz runs a man defense. He is everything. He usually likes to play on the nickel for more often than not. That's why we only had 2 linebackers on the field. Michael Kendricks didn't see any goddamn time. So you need to be flexible. I'm sick and tired of people saying, really, to run a Jim Schwartz scheme, you have to be a pure man corner. It'd be nice. Obviously, I think if you had to pick what trait you wanted, you probably would edge man over zone. But Jim Schwartz, he plays, it's nuts. He just needs his corners to cover. That's pretty much it. Be it a zone, be it man. The whole essence of a Jim Schwartz scheme is pressure with the front 4 and being able to cover your ass on the back end. And I think Gareon Conley, more so a man cover corner, but he can do zone. He can do everything. I think zone obviously is usually easier for defensive backs to make the transition from college to the pros. But Conley, outside, inside, man, zone, he can do it all. And he would be a phenomenal pick here at the 1st round for us. And be our instant start. He would start on this team day one. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So jumping to the second round pick 43, I have them going with Joe Mixon, running back from Oklahoma. You know what it is. I've been saying this forever. 6'1", 230 pounds. Blew the roof off on his pro day. If he would have went to the combine, he would have been probably the most physical specimen running back that we saw. The fact that if he didn't sign Alshon Jeffrey, Joe Mixon would walk in and debatably have the best hands on the Eagles really speaks volumes. And he would be, if he didn't have the off-the-field issues, actually that's a lie, because Dalvin Cook has almost terrible off-the-field issues, but because Joe Mixon got caught on camera. If that didn't happen, if Joe Mixon just had, hearsay, no video footage, he'd be a first-round pick. No way about it. I think most teams right now are hoping that he'll go to the second or the third round. But if I'm the Eagles, I'm jumping him in the first round. He is in NFL Pro comparisons Le'Veon Bell. He looks like Le'Veon Bell. There's some issues with him. There is some issues. A little bit of a patient type runner, but look at Le'Veon Bell. He's the most patient runner in the game. I think that's maybe the way that the running back position is going now. And he's not a complete back by any means, but he's pretty damn close. And I think Joe Mixon's the kind of guy that can instantly come in as a rookie, second-round pick that could complete our offense. So really the thing with Joe Mixon, though, this is the acceptable thing for me that I'll be able to deal with it. As long as we bring him in an interview, that's all I want. I want to see that Joe Mixon has a visit with the Philadelphia Eagles. So that means that if we pass him on the draft, he did not check the boxes, because there's only so much. We can only look at the tape, and we can look at the highlight reels and all that stuff. But you really have to sit down and get an interview with this guy. And I fully believe and trust that the Eagles at least give him the opportunity to come in and interview. And maybe they're still like, man, this guy is still kind of fucked up. And we pass on him, I'll be completely fine with that, to be honest with you. Even if he goes out and have a Rookie of the Year, I'll be fine. But if we don't even give him the opportunity and bring him in for an interview, which it looks like we will bring him in for a workout at least, I'm going to be very frustrated, to be honest with you. He is a guy. Game changer. Game changer is what you want. I'm sick and tired of teams like the Patriots being the team that just gets the off-the-field issue guys and keeps winning. You don't win. I'm sick and tired every time Joe Mixon posts come up on the Eagles fan pages, people are shit-talking it. You don't win a fucking Super Bowl by having Nobel Peace Prize winners and a fucking rainbow shooting out your locker room's asshole. You don't win that. You win by having the best playmakers on the field. We need a running back. We need a dynamic running back. We need an explosive running back. We need a running back that can catch. Tick, 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 tick. Joe Mixon, second round, is complete. To me, unless he has a terrible interview and straight up says, as soon as I get to Philly, I'm going to punch a bitch in the face, we should draft him in the second round. Jumping to the third round. Pick 74, I have us going Rasul Douglas, the cornerback from West Virginia. 6'2", 210 pounds, ran a 4.59 40. I assume he's going to try to best that at the West Virginia Pro Day. 16 reps on the bench press. This guy here is just a big physical corner that would work in a Jim Schwartz scheme. The only issue is it seems like a lot of people are trying to put him in a box as a zone corner, but I think, man, obviously the slower speed kind of hurt him a little bit, but I mean, he's strong. He has great punch off the line, and debatably has the best hands out of any defensive back in this year's draft class. A lot of people are rating away with that. He had how many picks did he have last year? He had 8 picks or something like that. Something crazy. Yeah, 8 interceptions last year, going with 70 tackles, 3.5 for loss. He's creative. He's a weapon that we can use on the defensive secondary. It would be a perfect fit for a Jim Schwartz scheme. I think he's a press corner. A lot of people say zone. Some people are saying press. I think he's a press corner, and that will work in a Jim Schwartz scheme, especially with some 2 beast safeties behind him, getting ready to help him out. So I think Rasul Douglas here in the second round. I think the slower 40 time, he was debated, is he a second, is he a third rounder? But with the fact that I think almost a 4.6 40, I think that solidified him as a third round pick, and we need to get 2 corners. And Rasul Douglas not only is a beast, but he's the top corner left here in the third round. Jumping to the fourth round, we have 2 fourth-round picks. Pick 118, I'm going with Eddie Vanderdoes, the defensive tackle from UCLA, 6'3", 305 pounds, ran a 4.99 40, 28 reps on the bench press. I've been fairly high on Eddie Vanderdoes for quite some time now, even though he's had some struggle staying on the field at UCLA in terms of injuries. His tape looks good, man. We need a guy that replaces Benny Logan. I don't see that honestly in Bo Allen, or I certainly don't think that Bo Allen should get that just cakewalk right into that starting spot. We need to bring in some competition, and I think getting a guy like Eddie Vanderdoes in the 4th round, he can come in and compete with Bo Allen to be that run stopper, that yin to the yang of Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox does it all, but we want Fletcher Cox to be living in backfields getting quarterbacks. That being said, one guy's got to stay home, and just in case they're running the ball, that could be an Eddie Vanderdoes, like big-time run stopper with great athletic ability, lots of upside. I think he'll be the 4th round because there are some injury concerns, but I'd jump all over that right here in the 4th round. Our second 4th round pick 139, I have us going with defensive end Trey Hendrickson, the defensive end from Florida State, 6'5", 265 pounds, 4.65 40, ran a 4.20 second 20-yard shuttle. Great agility, great athlete, great explosiveness. Brandon Graham's not spring chicken anymore. I know the Chris Long signing maybe thinks you can put defensive end a little bit back, but I still think best value Philadelphia Eagles will be going best player available. Then for most parts in this draft, I still think maybe a reach in this for the corner. But I mean, Hendrickson, Chris Long's not a long-term option. And if you're not, Brandon Graham, Vinny Kirk, those guys are getting up at around 30. We need to get some young edge rushers right here. And a guy like Trey Hendrickson would be a perfect fit for this team. I mean, last year, he's had his production at Florida Atlantic has been very, very stellar for quite some time. I think he was like a converted quarterback or something stupid like that. But I do think that he is a great playmaker and a backup defensive end that can develop and be a scheme fit for Jim Schwartz's scheme and get a guy that gets some rotational work as a rookie. So we saw last year, Jim Schwartz likes to get guys in quickly on rotations on his defensive line. And a guy like Hendrickson would be able to fit in very, very nice in the 4th round. Jumping to the 5th round, pick 155, I have us going Shelton Gibson, wide receiver from West Virginia, 5'11", 190 pounds, ran a 4.50 40, which is a lot slower than people expected, because a lot of people had him as one of the top deep threats, and he does. His tape looks good, but I mean that 40 time I think is going to really hurt him, because that's pretty much what he brings to an offense. He's this field separator that didn't really test like a field separator, so I think there's going to be a little bit of a limbo there. But he was the best wide receiver available on my board here in the 5th round. He's a scheme fit. NFL comparison was Corey Coleman, who went in the 1st round to the Cleveland Browns. Obviously I don't really think he's explosive. He's nearly as good as an athlete as Corey Coleman. But getting a guy like Sheldon Gibson in the 5th round, we need to, we got some wide receivers. We got Torrey Smith. We got Alshon Jeffrey. But those guys, they're one-year deals. Jordan Matthews, last year's deal. We need to get some young talent here that's not a Nelson Aguilar. And I think Sheldon Gibson, he's explosive playmaker. Like I said, he's probably faster in pads than he was outside of pads. And it may be a stretch this year in the 5th round. But I think, when people say he's ridiculous speed, 4.50, like people are gonna be like, well, maybe this guy just didn't test well. Maybe we overvalue the speed. So I think because of that limbo, he is gonna slip a little bit. Most people had him as a 4th round pick anyway, so I just have him slipping here into the 5th round, and he'd be a nice wide receiver to bring in and compete for some starting work right away. Jumping to the 6th round, pick 194. I was going with Ben Braden, offensive lineman from Michigan, 6'6", 330 pounds, can play guard, can play tackle, just a big mauler that's versatile. 2 boxes that we look for offensive linemen here in the Philadelphia Eagles. Ran a 5.0 40, 25 reps on the bench press. Just a dude, tough mauler that can play pretty much anywhere. I think maybe a little bit reach in the 6th round. It seems like some people have him going as the 7th round, but we need to address the offensive line. I think we got to kind of get off the Chip Kelly mold. Like, hey, we don't need to draft any offensive lineman. I think a guy like Ben Braden can come in. It looks like we may be coming near the end of Alan Barbary. He may only be here for 1 more year, so that frees up an offensive lineman spot for the future. And if we can get a prospect like this that's incredibly versatile, that can slide all over the offensive line in case of injury, that's great value in the 6th round. So Ben Braden makes a lot of sense for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then finish off the draft in the 7th round, pick 230. Going another wide receiver, he slipped. It's Stacy Coley, wide receiver from Miami, 6 feet tall, 195 pounds, ran a 4.45 40, 10 reps on the bench press. I think this is a guy, because he didn't go to the the Senior Bowl. A lot of people want to see him. Did not test particularly well outside of this 40-yard dash. He did not look good in the drills. Had a bunch of drops. It's a guy that's going to be slipping. And a lot of people already thought he was a project player at best. But you see the elite dynamic playmaking ability, and I just think Eagles take a flyer on an offensive weapon here in the 7th, especially at the wide receiver spot, because we don't have really a solid option there. So I think Stacy Coley here in the 7th round, to go with Sheldon Gibson, add some 2 burns that get some field separation, so that if we do eventually, I think out of the 2 wide receivers we have, or the 1-year wide receivers, we will bring back Jordan Matthews and Alshon Jeffrey. What do we need to pair with that? Guys that can get field separation, and Coley and Gibson can do that, and they're both going to be fairly cheap and fairly affordable, and they don't have to rush in with those wide receivers we have right now. They can sit back, learn, and really get some technique and the right running traits that you need to be a wide receiver in the NFL. So there you go, guys. That is my 7th-round mock draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. A little bit longer, but I'm going to talk about my Eagles as long as I want. This is your first time stopping by. Don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you agree or disagree. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.